Where's the microphone? What's that?
Why has no microphone?
That. My young Luke.
There's no women.
There's no women. There's no women. Ready, Shaz?
Give me 1 second. Forgot the other video as well if you want it.
Of course.
You are... Okay.
You good? Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to official summertime. Summertime officially starts when we change our time. Because to be honest, Dr. Saab, it's all arbitrary, isn't it? They say they set a date for when summer starts. When is summer meant to start? Is it 1st of June?
Well, it depends, yeah. Technically June, July, August are summer months. Yeah.
June, July, August, summer months, yes? Okay. But to be honest, I reject that. I reject that. There's no evidence for it. There's no basis for it. Today was as good a summer day as it comes. Today is the first day of our summer program, which will last maybe about 5 weeks or 4 weeks, something like that. It will be signified by minuscule attendances with a big psychological challenge of turning up. For me, it was very difficult to come today. Spent half the day in the garden doing key work. What a wonderful day it was. It was the important day. It's the day when all the key games are being played. All Champions League games are going to be missed. So it's the days where we pray Asr at 8 o'clock, coming to the masjid. I saw you did that, Robs. Saw you Shaz do it. Zafar do it as well?
We've seen you do it.
Like always, that is the time. That is the Asr. I always look forward to this, when you know that you can knock out 3 prayers, bang. Asr, when you arrive, Tahiyatul Masjid, combine, job done. Maghrib, Isha, khalas. So it's happy times, to be honest. I like summertime. Right, so where do we start first? Do we start with the text or do we start with the revenge? Because it's important, isn't it? I will give it to our elder and let him make the decision. Dars first or revenge first?
Let's get revenge out of the way.
Yes, good. I think revenge out of the way first. For more than one reason, actually, because there's no uncles in the masjid. Because if the uncles were here, then there'd be heart attack behavior. Okay? So let me just explain a little bit to everyone who's watching. What do we mean by revenge? Is it even right to be talking about revenge? Has there been a crime that's been committed which is worthy of the word revenge? The answer is yes, actually. Shahzada as a guy, guy puts up with a lot of bakwas, man. I mean, he does get ribbed. He gets ribbed every single day. Not a day goes by, not a lesson goes by, except that he's my point man. You know what I'm saying, yeah? What's the Top Gun terminology for point man? Wingman? He's my wingman. Yeah? I need him there. He's not, look, yeah? He's good enough to be Val Kilmer, but he's not good enough to be Tom Cruise. That's the way, do you know what I'm saying there? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah? You can't have both the same. You can't have, it wouldn't work. They'd be because look, everyone's going to try and make the winning shot. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Everyone's going to try and be like the hero. That can't happen. There has to be someone who just knows his limits and just does it in the background, and that's why he's called a wingman. And then Tom Cruise sticks on the Ray-Ban Aviators 801s, you know, and everyone knows then what's happening. Shaz is a worthy wingman, a king amongst men. And anyone who attacks Shaz attacks me. And anyone who insults Shaz insults me. And anyone, I'm the only one who's allowed to laugh at Shazad's BCD medal or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Is that the rhyme? Is that it?
It's a refund. He's wishing. I never ever heard the Queen ever in my life. I wish that there was no Queen and no BCD medal and no medals and no nothing. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sends these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sends down these things to test us. Some people He tries with difficulty and hardship, and other people He tries with wealth, fame, celebrity, and medals. Yeah? So I am the only one who has the right. The only one. Because it takes a lot of time to be able to keep dissing a guy straight publicly on internet, on video, on this. I'm the only one who's allowed to do that. And definitely someone who's never met Shaz, like 3 times or 5 times, that can't happen. Someone who doesn't know Shaz properly. Especially if that person doesn't even live in a country. And then especially if that person's a girl. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. What is that? What's going on there? You know? So there was an attack on Shazad and his honor, framing him in a picture, finding the picture, blah blah blah. Yeah? And then there's an attack on me, instead of giving me like a box of chocolates or something, matlabi, yeah? They gave me that nonsense, just to make me burn, because they know that I'm upset. Because they know, everyone knows that, I have served this community for many, many years, right? I am fully invested and deserving of to be recognized, yeah? And instead they gave it to the guy who cleans his teeth, yeah? So I'm obviously upset. So to make me burn more and more, they make a picture so that every time I see it, I'm gonna burn. So it's an attack on me. It's an attack on Shazad. It's an attack on the integrity of the Dars, and the integrity of Chidul Masjid, on the integrity of actually this country. Okay, it's an attack on the integrity of this country by a foreign girl. I mean, I just don't even know, how to make this any worse than it already is. I just don't even need to add any rhetoric to it. And all of this hiding behind the scenes, hiding behind a curtain. Trying to pretend like no one's there, whatever, you never see, never hear, never nothing. So I thought to myself, how am I gonna... I know what everyone's thinking was a lesson. I don't care about the lesson, to be honest. I'll be honest with you. Today's lesson's awesome, by the way. Awesome lesson, mashallah. I don't care about the lesson. I thought to myself, how am I going to get someone back? How am I going to do that? Yeah? Nadif was like... What was Nadif like? What did he say? Oh, you got to get... Nadif was actually the opposite. He was like, she did so great, amazing. You need to get her a gift. I said, have you lost your mind, son? Yeah? I'm trying to think all this time. Suddenly, subhanAllah, I'm teaching in a city called Windsor. No one's ever heard of it ever, I know. Okay? Windsor, Windsor. It's in Berkshire. It's this thing. Apparently they said they named it after Windsor there. Okay? I don't know. Okay? I am telling a little lie. I really like Windsor in Canada, but I just have to diss Windsor because of this person. Anyway, I'm sitting there, maybe about half an hour left to go, 10 minutes left to go of my lesson, of our weekly class, the weekend, protect this house. I'm stumped. I got no idea what's going to happen. Then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his system, it's a mysterious system. You just don't know. Because the guy stands up and he goes, I just want to play a video where we're celebrating the achievements of XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hello, turned around. And I was subjected to, without doubt, the funniest video. I laughed so much that I nearly coughed blood. Okay? And I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this video right there and then. And it was then that it occurred to me, you know what? Never mess with the awliya. Okay? Don't mess with AE, because the universe will somehow get revenge. The universe will take care of it. So I'm just letting you guys know that I have a good relationship with all of you, okay? There's never any reason for us to ever fall out, okay? But if you fall out, make quick tawbah and make sure you get the chocolates in, because I'm scared for you. Because it's not me who will get you back. It's the universe that will get you back. It's the forces of nature. I hope these girls are listening carefully, okay? You will be got back really badly. And so I present to you revenge. Take it away, Mr. Shazad Salim.
Alaikum. You're watching Ittihad Inspirations, where we highlight just some of the accomplishments of our outstanding Al Maghrib students here in Windsor and Michigan, who've taken what they've learned and used it to benefit their communities. In this edition, we recognize one long-time awesome Ittihadi, Widad Mazahi. A consistent Al Maghrib student and volunteer since 2007, Widad has benefited the Windsor community in many ways.
See it on the screen.
She was a core volunteer with the Windsor Islamic Association's Muslim Youth Club, organizing many sisters' qiyams and other programs over the years. She was also a contributing member in planning the Kiddie Ramadan seminars, which were full-day interactive seminars to teach children about Ramadan, and is currently a part of the committee that's working to restart programs for sisters at the Windsor Mosque. Within the University of Windsor's MSA, Widad has served as an executive member and was active in organizing the MSA's weekly halaqas, as well as many outreach efforts, including Relay for Life and the MSA's yearly Islam Awareness Week. She's also taken part in MAC Youth summer camps and their MAC Youth Leads program, which is a community program aimed at building leadership and social skills of young people in grades 1 to 12.
Stop it.
Currently,
No,
among
don't
many
stop the
other
video.
things,
Stop, make my head laugh.
Widad serves as the secretary for the Windsor Islamic Council's Media Relations Committee and as the head of academic affairs for Logical Progression, an online weekly fiqh program taught by Sheikh Abu Isa Ni'matullah and organized by Al Maghrib Institute and Prophetic Guidance. We pray that all of her efforts are accepted and that they serve as an inspiration for us all. This is what she's done, and you can do it too. Thank you, Widad, for being an Ittihad inspiration. Thank you for watching this video.
خلاص done, yeah? Turn the thing off, خلاص. Dr. Shazad is saying, where's the cuss? This is amazing. This is amazing. He's confused, everyone's confused. I'm just saying, Widad, yeah, don't mess with your elders. Yeah? Don't mess with the scholars. Don't mess with Shazad. Don't mess with the awliya. Don't mess with the AE. Okay? It's done, it's done. Just play the game according to the rules. Keep it professional. Yeah? Don't make it anything more than that. Huh, Bobs? That's how we exist, isn't it? That's how we operate, yeah? Dr. Shazad, do you agree? Okay then. Alright. Can we now do some lesson now, yeah? Yeah? Can I just tell you what happened, yeah, by the way, when that video came? My girl, she hid underneath the table. Hid underneath the table. You know, I laughed so much I nearly bled out my eyes. Anyway, honestly, I laughed too much, my head's hurting. You know when you laugh too much and your head starts to hurt? Ugh, my head's gone dizzy. Right. Bismillah. What's going on? Right, okay, challah, right.
I think my dad just joined the class.
Okay. I don't care where she is or whatever. The world has now witnessed. Right, come on now. Increase the size as I can't see anything. I've had an aneurysm now. My eyes don't even work anymore. And one more. And one more. And another one. There we go. Move it a bit to the front or to the side. You can't do that, yeah? Okay then. Alright, Bismillah. This is a whole new section then. Okay, we've done everything that we've done last time. Now we're going to cover quite a bit, inshallah, hopefully this time. And it starts off with the statement of Imam Al-Hajjawi alayhi rahmatullah. ويجب التيمم بتراب طهور غير محترق له غبار وفروضه مسح وجهه ويديه إلى كوعيه وكذا الترتيب والموالاة في حدث أصغر وتشترط النية لما يتيمم له من حدث أو غيره فإن وأحدها لم يجزئه عن الآخر وإن نوى نفلا أو أطلق لم يصلي به فرضا وإن نواه صلى كل وقته فروضا ونوافل. So the translation of this section is that it is obligatory to make tayammum with pure dirt which has not been baked and it has intrinsic dust. Its obligatory actions of tayammum are: number 1, wiping the face; number 2, wiping the hands including the wrists; number 3, maintaining the above order; and number 4, keeping everything continuous. And muwala, we covered that in hadith, in wudu, both in the case of minor ritual impurity. That just so that you understand the translation there. Okay, that was a bit tricky there. I needed to really repeat that statement. Both in the case of minor ritual impurity should have been after 3 and 4, but I kind of done a comma and I said both in the case of minor ritual impurity. So 3 and 4 tayammum. If you remember, we mentioned this last week and the week before. For those who've been paying attention, that in the ghusl replacement, in ghusl themselves, the Hanbalis, they do not consider it necessary to have order, tartib, and so on. Okay, and even muwala, which is continuity, meaning no massive time gaps. That's not a big thing. Whereas in wudu, in the small, they do require it. So that's why in the case of minor ritual impurity, you must maintain the above order and keep everything continuous. Anyway, it is a condition, yani shart, tushtaratu, yeah? It is a condition to intend the lifting of the ritual impurity or any other reason that tayammum is being made for. If he, I'll explain this anyway, yeah? If he intended only one, then it does not suffice for the other. If he intended something supererogatory, yani nafal, or he did not specify anything at all, then he is not to pray an obligatory prayer with it. If he did intend the obligatory, then he can pray all obligatory and supererogatory prayers during that specific time. So that's the section that we're going to be covering hopefully in the next 1-2 sessions. I want to say that a lot of this is stuff that we've covered before theoretically, okay, in wudu, yani from a point of view of continuity and this and that and whatever, okay, and niyyah and obligation, and so we should be able to move through this very smoothly. And that's the advantage of taking things logically, okay, going step by step. So this is now referring to page 390 in Ash-Sharh al-Mumti', okay. So what does Shaykh Al-Uthaymeen alayhi rahmatullah, what does he start off with? He says that it's clear that for tayammum to actually be applicable, there are conditions to the actual at-tayammamu bihi, the thing which you will use to make tayammum with, okay? What are you? Lima yutayammamu bihi. This is a use of the verb to indicate that which is used to make tayammum with. Okay? What are its conditions? Well, I want to say to you before we start that we're going to go into the details of the conditions that the madhab states, but you will see that our taught position is completely different. Completely different. Okay? So, what does the madhab say? First of all, it says it must be turab. Okay? Turab. Now, turab it is, if I was speaking in English, dirt. And when I say dirt, by dirt, I don't mean sand and I don't mean stones. So when you hear the word turab, you know that we're not talking about hajar, we're not talking about ramal. We are talking about just the normal dirt that we have in the garden, towards the trees, you know, that kind of thing. If you dig up the grass underneath, just proper earth. And that actually is a difficult word, because you think that, you know, certain words apply to it, but then you realize it's not. But I think soil, dirt, earth, I think these are the 3 key words. Are there any others? Mud. Now mud, the problem with mud is that you have this kind of idea that mud has water with it, yes? But I think you also get the idea that mud doesn't always have to have water. Or is it, when you say the word mud, does it necessitate that it's wet? So we have some no's and we have some yeses. Is mud by definition wet? Okay, because I don't know. Because if mud is by definition water based, then it is not turab. Okay, we are talking dry, normal earth surface. Okay, so that's the first thing. The madhab, and indeed the majority of the madhahib, they insist it must be turab. Okay, and فإن عدم التراب كما لو كان في البر ليس فيه إلا رمل أو ليس فيه إلا طين لكثرة الأمطار فيصلي بلا تيمم. Therefore, the upshot of this position is that according to the madhab, if they are in a desert or they are in like a tropical kind of rainforest or whatever, where all of the ground is soaked, or in a desert where it's all sand and no ground, no earth, then what do? They pray without making tayammum. They pray exactly as they are. Is that clear? That's the position of the madhab. Nothing, no tayammum, nothing at all. Why is that? Because the reason is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, وَجُعِلَ تَرْبُتَهَا لَنَا طَهُورًا وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ وَجُعِلَ التُّرَابِ لِي طَهُورًا. It is the turab, and in one narration, its dirt has been made for us purifying. That's hadith which is narrated by Ibn Abi Shaybah on the authority of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Al-Haythami, Ibn Hajar Al-Haythami, the muhaddith, the other one. He said this hadith is Hasan, okay, narrated by Ibn Abi Shaybah and narrated by Imam Ahmad. Sorry, I got that completely wrong. That's the next hadith. The hadith that I just mentioned is hadith narrated by Muslim on the authority of Hudhayfah. Its dirt has been made for us purifying, and the one that is well known is its earth has been made for me purifying. That's narrated by Ibn Abi Shaybah and by Imam Ahmad and hadith Hasan. Both are authentic. Okay, and then we also know هذا يخصص عموم قوله تعالى قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He goes that also the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that the earth has been made for me as a place of prostration and purifying. Earth, al-ard. Now there, al-ard means ground, not earth, I beg your pardon. Okay, al-ard. Well, actually, ard linguistically means the world. Yes? Al-ard was-samawati wal-ard. Yeah? Heavens and the earth. Al-ard there in this hadith obviously means that which you walk on, the ground. So the Prophet ﷺ said that the ground has been made for me a place of prostration and purification. They said, the madhahib, they said that this general word has been specified by the word turab. So the word ground is am and the word turab is khas. So earth has been specified by only turab and only ever turab. Okay? Our response to this, and it can be responded to this, بأنه إذا قيد اللفظ العام بما يوافق الحكم العام فليس بقيد. وتقرير هذه القاعدة أن ذكر بعض أفراد العام بحكم يوافق حكم العام لا يقتضي تخصيصه. مثل ذلك إذا قلت أكرم الطلبة فهذا عام، فإذا قلت أكرم زيد وهو من الطلبة فهذا لا يخصص العام لأنك ذكرت زيدا بحكم يوافق العام. Basically, Sheikh is trying to explain a principle. He says, to be honest, this is actually a weak argument to say that when the Prophet ﷺ says that the ground has been made for me pure, then the word turab has been used in another hadith. This is the actual application and the only application, the specific identification of the general phrase earth. Shaykh Uthaymeen says that's not the case. This is not always the case. As long as the basic principles remain the same, the characteristics remain the same, it doesn't mean it's the only application, meaning it can also possibly be another thing that has the same characteristics. For example, he gives an Arabic example. He goes, if someone says to you, be nice to the students, okay, be nice to the students, and then someone says, be nice to Zaid, he's one of the students, okay? The point here is, this being nice to students, nice to Zaid, does not mean that he is the only person that can be nice to, and it restricts the niceness only to Zayd. He's just one of them. He is a student. The characteristic of being a student is in Zayd, so therefore we can be nice to him and cover the issue. Meaning that it's not necessary that this is only restricted to one thing, and in our point to turab. Okay, now, so therefore some of the scholars then they basically said, and Shaykh Uthaymeen goes into some kind of a few examples, and I don't want to get into those because they are deep usul examples. Okay. And I don't mean that it's not some, I just want to say that it's not relevant, for our discussion. The key to understand is that having one example of the earth does not mean that is the only one that should be applied. Earth and then dirt does not mean that dirt is all of the earth. Earth has other things, and if the same can be achieved by other aspects of the earth, then it should be given a chance. That's why Shaykh Uthaymeen puts the opinion forward. He goes, the correct position is وَالصَّحِيحِ أنه لا يختص التيمم بالتراب بل بكل ما تصاعد على وجه الأرض والدليل على ذلك. He goes, actually the correct position is that tayammum is not specified or restricted to dirt only, rather it is applicable to anything that rises to the top of the earth. So any surface on the ground. Any surface on the ground. Okay? He goes, the evidence for this is as follows. Number one, the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, فَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 6. فَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا. Let's look at the Arabic here. فَتَيَمَّمُوا, make tayammum. So we know that tayammum is, okay, that's fine. That's that process. With what? فَتَيَمَّمُوا صاد عين ياء دال, okay, comes from تصاعد. الصعود is when you rise, when you go up. Okay, so as-su'ud is when you go up. So sa'id in this language here has been interpreted as the dirt only for the fact that it is on top of it's a surface basically, so it's the top. So they are actually restricting the linguistic meaning of sa'id to dirt, when linguistically it actually means anything which is on top. And that's why Sheikh Muhammad Salih ibn Uthaymeen, Sheikh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti and other scholars, they said anything which goes to the top of the surface and takes the top of the surface of the earth or the ground, it will be called sa'id. It will be sa'id because it got itself to the top. That therefore means sand is in. It means stones are in. It means I don't know what other options are there. Grass is not stingy. Grass is a plant, but obviously the base of the grass, no problem, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Okay. والله سبحانه وتعالى والله سبحانه يعلم أن الناس, he says, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that the people, they are going on journeys where sometimes the roads and paths, they are made of sand, sometimes they're made of stone, in the mountains for example, and sometimes they're going in places where there's earth. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not specify one thing over another. That's why He said sa'idan tayyiba. Tayyiba here means pure. Tayyiba means good and pure. So it is anything which is on top surface of the earth which is not najis. That's what the verse says basically. The second evidence is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was in a Ghazwat Tabuk, okay, when he went to Tabuk, his path involved much walking in the desert. Huge distances in the desert, and only the desert, which we all know is nothing but sand. I mean proper sand, pure sand. There's no dirt anywhere. And there's not a single evidence to show that he carried any turab with him, and B, that he prayed without tayammum. These are the two things, right? Either that he would carry a turab with him, dirt, and he would hit it with him, and then he would pray. Or the other evidence would be that he, as the Hanbali said, that you would just pray without doing any form of wudu or tayammum. We don't have that. So the basic asl is what? Our basic asl is that if he had water, he would have used it. If he didn't have water, then he would have made tayammum on the sand. If someone was to turn around and say, well, hold on, it's a possibility that actually what you're suggesting is also not a proof, because you need to prove that he did tayammum on the sand. We'll say, well, at least the one thing that we can say is that there's no way to prove that he only did it upon earth. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it might not be the strongest of evidences for us, but it's certainly a response to them, which is only restricting it to dirt. Okay? And so for that reason, it is Shaykh Uthaymeen's position, as well as the class position, that any surface can be used. Any surface. Now, we're going to carry on bit by bit before we kind of open it up. The second part is that it is tahur. That it is, now if you remember, okay, tahur means what? What does tahur mean? What did we say if you back to year 1 and 2? What does tahur mean? Purifying, okay? We said that in the Hanbali madhab, and in fact number of madhahib, they divide all these kind of things into 3 categories, isn't it? Yes? What is it? Tahur, which is purifying. Tahir, which is pure. What does pure mean? What does pure mean? According to them, pure means it's clean, but it can't be used to cleanse. It's pure, but it can't be used to purify. Okay? And then you have najas, which is, dirty, filth. Okay? So this is the case of water, and they apply it to dirt as well. So let's look at this. The Hanbalis, they said it has to be tahur. Therefore, it can't be najas. Therefore, if you come across some dirt that has had urine in it or feces in it, then it can't be used. Okay? And that is because Allah says, فَطَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا. Use tayyib, sa'id. And of course, if it's got najas on it, then it's not allowed. Yep. And there's no doubt about that. And we agree upon them that there's no issue at all. But also, according to the Hanbalis, tahir dirt is also unacceptable. Give me an example of tahir dirt. Someone give me an example. Hanbalis said you can't use najas dirt and you can't use tahir dirt, only tahur dirt. I gave you an example of najas. You give me an example of tahir. Anyone online? Anyone? Think back to chapter of wudu. Anyone?
Something like some coloured soil or something.
I received a message. I'm going to read this, okay? I received a message. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I will fly to Manchester and I will kill you. But yet I will sneak capsaicin pills. Capsaicin, that's quality. Because that kills in your food and kill your taste buds, so you will never again be able to savor the taste of Kansas, whatever it's called, or HD ice cream. And I will also send Suarez to your house to bite your young children in the night. That is a wicked line. Send Suarez to bite the kids. That's a quality line. That's awesome, bro. Don't mess, you see? Never mess. Come on, did you guys come with an example? Goodness me, man. How rubbish are you lot? Come on.
Coloured soil or something. Or something
No.
dyed or something.
No. Coloured soil. Come on, man. That's a major fail, by the way. That's a major fail. Not even one example. Tahir soil would be clean soil, normal soil that someone has used and they've picked it up and then you use the same one. That's the easiest and most common example. Clean water, absolutely fine. Clean soil, absolutely fine. No, nothing. But because it has been spiritually used elsewhere, okay, because it's been used by him to be beaten, for example, and wiped off his hands, it's musta'mal. I remember we spoke about that, the concept of used water in wudu. Okay, yeah.
So it's not just like soil, that has like food and
Yeah, so najis is clear. It has feces, it has poo, it has urine, dirty. This, according to the Hanbalis, is actually clean soil, but someone's already used it. Okay, it's not dirty, but someone just used it. Okay, and then the tahur, of course, is purifying. That's the position of the madhab. As for the correct position, then it is, the class position is like what we chose for water. We went into all three, didn't we? But we said that the only type, water can only be of how many types? 2 types. Okay, it is tahur or najis. It is either pure and purifying, or it is najis. And likewise, dirt is either pure purifying or it's najis. There's no middle ground. There's no tahir state. Okay, or no evidence for it. The next one is that it is غير محترق. Yani it can't be burnt. It can't be baked. So we're talking about cement, for example. We're talking about clay or porcelain or in its powder form. Anything which has been kind of manufactured, then you can't use that. That's an artificial baked process. None of that can be used. Okay? None of that can be used. That is according to the Hanbali position. Shaykh Uthaymeen, he said, to be honest, this is it can be made tayammum with. Now I have to say it's very difficult to disagree with that. It's going against so many of the positions, but actually when you look at them, the evidence is not there. For example, the next one is going to be lahu ghubar. It must have intrinsic dust. So we know by necessity that how can it be having dust if it's wet? But as you're going to see now, Shaykh Uthaymeen is going to say that there's no evidence whatsoever that it needs to have dust. Okay? So because he doesn't see the need for dust, then he's not going to have any problem with water being part of the actual surface. I want to say that the class position, I also agree that there is no evidence. And the class position is that actually anything, any kind of surface will be sufficient. And you're going to see the evidences for it. And you will see, well, I've given you evidences that it's not turab. But now we're going to show that the evidences for it having to have dust is not necessarily a must. However, doing it on wet kind of mud and so on and so forth, there's no doubt that you're moving into an area of difference of opinion. Okay, and so therefore just best to step back there. Okay, but I'm saying you still, regardless, the position of the class is that every surface, wet or dry, baked or not, fish artificial or not, as long as it is on the surface of the earth and it is clean, it is pure, then it can be used for tayammum. Okay. As for the Hanbalis, they said it must have lahu ghubar, must have intrinsic dust. It is the 4th condition from the conditions of tayammum. So according to them, if it's wet earth, you can't make tayammum with it at all. Okay, you cannot make tayammum with it at all. He goes, therefore, think about this. He goes, listen to what the Hanbalis are saying. He goes, if we're walking in a land and it rains, and we've got no wudu, okay, and there's not enough water to make wudu with, and the whole area is covered by wetness, we can't even make wudu, we can't even make tayammum. That's according to them. So everyone will pray without making tayammum. That's what the Hanbali position is. And what is their evidence? The evidence is actually quite a simple one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 6 says, فَامْسَحُوا بِوُجُوهِكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ مِنْهُ. Yani minhu, okay? So wipe your faces and your hands from it. From it. This min is called min lit-tab'id. The min of division. So it's the min which divides something. So if I say, I want this from that, if I want 2 answers from you, when I want 2 answers from you, that suggests that there is the ability to divide the room into answers. 5 answers, 7 answers possible, I'll take 2. It means that the thing itself is divisible. And so therefore they said that the min means that the dust itself must be, the turab must be divisible. And when you say wipe from it, it is referring to the dust of it. It's referring to the dust of it. You're dividing the actual thing up into parts. If you're going to divide dirt up into parts, what are you going to divide it up into? And they said naturally it's the physical aspect and a dusty kind of whatever that kind of like whatever it's called residue. What's the solid kind of I don't know what is dust? Solid particle, huh? Airborne particle aspect of it. That's the only evidence they have. They don't have any other evidence at all. And Shaykh Uthaymeen, he goes, as for the correct position, then this is not a condition to have dust. And the evidence for that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَتَيَمَّمُوا سَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا. He said, make tayammum with anything which is upon the earth, which is pure. He did not say anything else. He did not say that it had to have dust, it had to have this, it had to have that. Secondly, the Prophet ﷺ كان يسافر في الأرض رملية والتي أصابها مطر ولم ينقل عنه ترك التيمم. This is a bit of a, in my opinion, bit weak position. He said the Prophet ﷺ used to often travel in lands which were full of sand, okay, and in deserts, and those lands that would be affected by the rain. We have not seen anything from the Prophet ﷺ that he didn't make tayammum because of that. We don't know about it. Yeah, so therefore that's an evidence. Okay. He also another very interesting evidence as well. Watch, that's looking at someone's thingy. Yes, when someone is writing. Concentrate. Another very interesting point that Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions is that in the same ayah of tayammum in Surah An-Nisa, the word min has not even been mentioned at all. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَتَيَمَّمُوا صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا فَامْسَحُوا بِوُجُوهِكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ. That's it. In Surah An-Nisa, verse 43, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, just make the tayammum, sa'idan tayyiba, and wipe your face and hands. He didn't even say from it. From it only comes in Al-Ma'idah. And Surah An-Nisa was revealed far before Al-Ma'idah was. So this verse is the actual asl for this, and Surah Al-Ma'idah, it came afterwards. Alright. Another thing is the hadith of Ammar. Hadith Ammar radiallahu anhu, narrated by Bukhari, that the Prophet ﷺ, he hit the earth with his two hands, and then he blowed into them. نَفَخَ فِيهِمَا. Okay? We're going to learn, if I forget, that it is a sunnah actually to blow into the hands, to blow away in the hands. Shaykh Uthaymeen makes a point. He goes that if the dust is a condition, then what's the point of them blowing it away? He goes that definitely that the sign of this is going to go. He goes, and obviously if you are going to wipe and this is going to drop, and you're blowing, it's going to blow away. So he goes, this is clearly not about the dust itself. This is not about the dust itself. واشترط الأصحاب أن يكون تراب مباح. He goes, this is a side point here. He goes that of course there's a condition there that the dust must be permissible. Now you might say, what does permissible dust mean? Permissible dust means that the land where it comes from is not someone with something which is stolen land, or land which has been frauded, like people do, moving posts and things like that, blagging other people basically, jadad kind of things. Hacks will know all about that. Okay, so the question is it invalidated? If, for example, you come across a let's say that you came across you had no water, no nothing, and you came across a well or a pool that was stolen land, okay, or frauded land. Is it permissible for you to make wudu from it? Answer is yes. It is just something which is disliked. Okay, but the actual water in itself for you to use it itself, there's no evidence that your water would not be correct. It will be correct. Okay? Alright, good. So that's all that. Any questions on that so far? So we're talking about the substance itself. Any questions about substance? Yes.
So
online as well, Shaz, before we start the next thing. Yeah.
just to be clear then, with the tayammum then, it's not the actual, you don't have to visibly see the dirt on your hands.
Correct.
It's just the action is important.
And according to our class position, I don't want to say that just the action, because clearly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it must be sa'idan and tayyiban. So there is actually meaning behind it, that we are actually striking something physical that has to be pure. So I don't want to turn this into some kind of big mystical metaphorical action, which is always the danger when you're kind of like, when you're trying to respond to people who want dirt and you're saying blowing it off, you can go too far and it comes across that actually it's not important, any old surface can be hit, whatever. Well, yes, you can do it off a wall. This is a natural wall, and you can do it off that. Off a painted wall, no problem as well. It will have dust on it. Any surface, wall or floor, can be used for tayammum. Doesn't matter whether it is made of gypsum or plaster or cement or clay or pottery or earth, whether it's on the floor or not, wet or not, hot or not, baked or not, stones, sand, mixed or not. There has to be clean and it has to be struck. You are not meant to blow everything off either. It's not an idea that you completely clean your hands. There is no wiping of the hands, for example. There's a strike and it is allowed for you to blow just to get maybe some of the whatever off, the majority of the dirt off, and then it's a wipe of the face. This is coming afterwards, and then a shaking of a cleaning of the hands. Okay, that blowing is only a sunnah act. It's an act of the sunnah. That's all. Yeah.
You go out of your way
Yeah.
to find something dusty.
To be on the safe side, kind of thing. Well, look. There's no doubt that, and I want to mention here another point. Not only do we want to move so far that we take all meaning out of the we turn the whole thing into a mystical, metaphorical thing, okay? But also we want to remember that there is something special in turab itself, in teen itself, okay? So even though the answer to your question is no, you don't have to go extra to find something mega dusty, proper earth, any surface will do, and that's fine. I don't want to belittle earth, dirt, turab itself. It has a function in cleaning. There is something miraculous to it, and so on and so forth. In the hadith of the kelb, for example, of the dog, in the issue of its qualities with respect to medical treatment, its use, for example, in the creation of mankind, shaitan referring to it in contradistinction to being created from fire, and he's created from teen, and so on and so forth. So there is definitely some kind of physical reality to it.
You were mentioning it could be any surface, it could be wall as well. So
Yes.
even floor, marbles, wood.
Yes, because a marble or wood or anything, an exposed surface, will have the normal dirt, dust. Obviously, if it's absolutely brand spanking new, it doesn't have any kind of thing, then it's not the case. But we're talking erected, normal floor, any surface, and especially when it's a surface which is a floor surface, which is then turned into a wall. We have a hadith very, very clear with the Prophet ﷺ, he struck the wall, al-ha'at, so it is not restricted just to the floor. Okay? Yeah.
Say you're like in the desert.
Yes. Yes.
The dust is visible.
Yeah. Well, what we're saying is that the dust is not a condition. So if you're in a desert, you would strike the sand, and the sand would be sufficient.
It's not like if you have makeup on and lose your wudu, we can do tayammum without taking makeup off.
I don't know. I'll have to think about that. It's a good question. It's a very good question. It's a very, very, very good question, in fact. Maybe we'll have to get fatwa for that. That's it? Yeah? What time is it now, by the way?
59 or 9 o'clock.
Okay, so, alright, let's continue then. It's obligations then. It's obligatory actions. مسح وجهه ويديه إلى كوعيه. Okay, so number one is wiping the face and then wiping the hands, including the wrists. What is the evidence of that? The evidence is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. He said, فَامْسَحُوا بِوُجُوهِكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ مِنْ, and then wipe your faces and your hands from it. And it is exactly the same as the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا كُنْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ. O you who believe, when you stand for prayer, then wash your faces and your hands until your elbows. The qur', okay, is the wrist. Okay, the ku' is the wrist. And the evidence that it must be into the wrist is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to wipe your hands from it. Hands. Now hands, okay, what did we say about that? And when we covered wudu, what's the principle? Elbow when, hands when. What do we understand is being referred to each time? Who can remember the rule? Anyone remember the rule? The rule is that the hand only means a hand when it's narrated al-itlaq. When it's narrated in an unspecified way without any added extra information, then it means right up to the wrist joint. Okay? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, of course, وَالسَّارِقُ وَالسَّارِقَةُ فَقَطَعُوا أَيْدِيَهُمَا. The male thief, the female thief, cut off their hands, and we know that that is from the wrist joint. Okay? Just straight, and obviously just above the wrist joint. So we know that as was practiced is referring to the word yad. Therefore yad by its very definition is from the top of the fingers to the wrist. That's what the yad means. If we want the yad to mean anything else, i.e. the arm, which it does in the ayah of wudu, then we need to have an additional qualification, which is what? Ila al-marafiq. So wash the hands up until the elbows. Once we have up until the elbows, then we know that therefore hand here now means the entire arm. Okay? The other evidence, of course, is the hadith of Ammar ibn Yasir, where the Prophet ﷺ said that it is sufficient for you to have just done this. And so he hit this is the Prophet ﷺ saying to Ammar ibn Yasir, it is sufficient for you to have just done this, and then he struck the earth with both hands once, and then he wiped the left with, then he wiped his right hand with his left, and the palms his face. Okay? And he did not wipe his arms. Alright? Sorry, that's not part of the hadith. Okay? His right hand over his left, and the hands and the face. So what is the word that has been used here? What is the word which has been used here? Is وَظَاهِرُ كَفَيْهِ. The kaf is referring to the palms. Okay, so the wiping has been restricted to the palms only, and the right over the left, it specifies if the right over the left is being used to wipe and the palms only, then it's referring to the hand in its general sense. And therefore Shaykh Uthaymeen said, he did not mention the elbows or the arms. There are some scholars that did actually say that it is to the elbows. It does go all the way to the elbows. In fact, I remember reading that there were some of the Salaf that would wipe it up to the armpits. They would make tayammum, they would strike, and they would wipe all the arm right up into the armpits. And that's from early Salaf. Okay, where does the position of wiping from the elbows come from? Actually, let me add that in the Arabic language, the qur' itself can be used to mean the elbow. That's one point. That's one actual aspect. Okay, the other one, and this is the strongest evidence that they have. Okay, is that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Atayammamu darbatan, darbatun lil wajh, wa darbatun lil yadayn ila al mirfaqayn." That tayammum is two strikings: a striking for the face and a striking for the two hands up until the elbows. This hadith is a very famous one. It is narrated by Imam ad-Daraqutni and by Imam al-Bayhaqi and Imam al-Hakim, and it was considered weak because of the presence. As stated by Ibn Hajar and by Abdul Haqq al-Ishbili, and it has many roots. كلهم متكلم فيها. All of them have a problem with it, even though actually Imam ad-Daraqutni considered this to be an authentic hadith. Okay, Allahu A'lam. Abdul Haqq al-Ishbili, he said that this hadith is actually a statement of Abdullah ibn Umar, and that probably is a possibility, that this is a statement of the companion as opposed to a position of the Prophet ﷺ. So I want you to know that the hadith itself is weak, okay, and therefore it cannot be used. The other evidence what they had is that they made their qiyas upon wudu. They made an analogy on wudu. They said this is using dirt. Wudu, we wash our hands up into our elbows, so therefore we should wipe until our elbows as well. The answer to this is a number of points. Number one, there is no qiyas, no analogy in the issues of when there is a nas. Where there is a text, you can't make qiyas. We can't make an analogy where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that wipe your hands. Okay? So in hands here, we can't say hands and hands to the elbows. This must be the elbows. We'll say, but this says hands, this says elbows. We can't make an analogy against a nas. The second problem is that actually they're different. One is using water, one is using turab. So this is what we call qiyas ma'al fariq. There's an actual real difference, and so we cannot apply analogy when there are differences in the actual rulings. You can only apply analogy when everything's exactly the same. They all fulfill the same criteria. If there's something which doesn't fulfill the same criteria, then we cannot then give a ruling on it. And the final one before we break for salah is that the two hands, that the words that have been used in every text, authentic text relating to tayammum, always refer to it in its absolute sense. No restriction or no specification to the elbows. And so therefore a hand, as we said, when it's being used in its very, very simple sense, it is only then considered its actual size. So basically what do I want to say? I want to say that the evidence is for it to be known that actually wiping up to the elbows is not established, there's no authentic evidence. Number two, actually striking the ground twice or three times also has no evidence, only once. And number three, the most important lesson from today is that tayammum does not have to be restricted to dirt with dust. It is permissible to use any surface, natural surface, okay? A natural surface which gathers dust in any kind of way, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. In the next lesson we will continue. Jazakumullahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.